Hello, everyone. Hello, friends, colleagues, clients, everyone who's watching today. It's Bernadette. It's really great to see all of you, or to know that you're out there somewhere, watching it on replay or watching it live. Thank you so much for joining me for my Inclusive 360 book launch party. So Inclusive 360 came out today, and it's already a bestseller in 2 Amazon categories. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited about it. I'm really proud of it. And I believe in this book so much, because what I have found in so many conversations with clients, potential clients, just people in the industry, is that there's a lot of good intention, but then people get overwhelmed and they get stuck and they're not really sure how to get into action. And this is the book to help organizations, especially earlier on in their DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion journey, get into action. So yeah, I'm really proud of it. I think it's awesome. I hope that you like it. I hope that you love it. I hope that you tell others about it. And it's already an Amazon bestseller in 2 categories. So that feels great. And thank you for the support. Thank you for all the pre-orders, and thank you for everything. Thank you for believing in me and following along with me on my journey, on my career evolution. However you know me from the past, I'm really grateful that you're here with me today. And I'm going to get started by introducing. By the way, I'm really nervous. I'm not someone who gets nervous. I'm like a pretty easygoing, kind of chill person, but I am, I'm like, my level of tension is a bit off the charts. And I'm not sure why. Heather, my partner, tried to process that with me earlier today, like the good lesbians that we are. And I was like, I can't quite figure it out. It's just sort of this inexplicable tension. So thank you. But I'm ready to celebrate. I'm ready to be here with you today and celebrate and enjoy this conversation. So let me start by getting Rita and Patty involved. And Rita and Patty are awesome folks on my team. Some of you may know them already. I'm really honored and proud that they have chosen to work with me and to work on this business. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Rita and Patty. And by the way, you saw the very early PDF drafts of this book. So you saw the guts of it. So I'm sure you've seen the evolution along the way.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations, Bernadette. You have put your heart and soul in this, and you have taken it on this journey, and now here you have this wonderful book. And I'm hoping everyone gets a chance to purchase it and really, really enjoy it and use it, because it's a great book. We've seen it. Patty and I have seen it evolve.
It's great stuff. If you love the newsletter, which you should, and you should sign up to be part of that newsletter as well. But you'll love the book. It's just fantastic. And I have seen the evolution, and it got better continuously. And I mean, that's the plan, right? But I'm just happy to be able to share that with others. Having had that copy of the draft for so long, and not being able to say, oh, well, I know a solution for that, and here you go. But now I can say that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, honestly, that's the type of conversations I have on the regular. Is like, what do we do now? And so it's about solutions. And what I really truly believe is that we get stuck in our heads. We overthink things. We overanalyze things. I do it myself. And when it comes to a topic as big as DEI, it's really easy to just get stuck up there and to be paralyzed by all of the possibilities or the fear of getting it wrong. And I just wanted to write a book that was like, all right, here you go. These are the solutions. There's a lot of stuff in here. Figure out what's right for your own organization. It's kind of like DIY, DEI. So thank you for saying that, Patty. I appreciate it. So you know what? You two have both been on the corporate side. you've been you have worked internally in corporations for years, and now you're on the outside. You work in the consulting capacity. So tell me, what is it like? How do you feel like having been on the other side and kind of seen it both ways?
You want to go first, Patty, or me?
I was going to let you.
Okay. Well, really and truly, I've worked a long time. I worked a long time in corporate America, and I can honestly say that I've seen a lot of different actions and initiatives that were taken, and sometimes from the good standpoint, I thought it was, this is okay. Worst case scenario, I was sitting up there going, this is a bunch of propaganda. I'm not but I have to say that especially over the last couple of years, and especially last year in particular, there has been a change, and it's been more authentic. It's been all more authentic. So when you have an audience that is really trying, a book like Inclusive 360 is ideal. It's perfect. You couldn't have picked a better time to share all of this knowledge you have.
Yeah, I think it's good because it's approachable. It makes it approachable for folks who are those grassroots people in organizations that exist in these corporations. That's where the work needs to come from top down and bottom up as well. And this will help folks be able to talk that same language the way that I think needs to happen. And we've seen, like Rita, you're right, we've seen an increased appetite over the last year for sure. But I think that, my experience in corporate world is been more in small, closely held organizations rather than large corporations. And I think that every organization can benefit from adopting more inclusivity into their culture.
Absolutely.
And I think that people need to see examples of it working. And it's kind of hard to go out and find that, right? I mentioned the newsletter. That's one way to get those stories of like what things are working. But this is another way, and it's something tangible for people to hold on to pass around to others in their organization. Although we do, I'm sure Bernadette, you would prefer that they purchase their own copies. But it's just a way for folks to be able to connect on these topics and to get a deeper understanding of what might work for them just through the examples that are shown in the book.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I called it Inclusive 360 because I know that there are a lot of fantastic books out there related to DEI, and many of them are focused on leadership and HR. And I wanted to write a book with really solutions for every department, for the meeting planners and the product designers and the marketers and really all the other folks, because really, if we're going to be honest about this, if we're going to do it in an authentic way, then it truly should be something for every department. And it does require an authentic 360-degree approach. So thank you. And, I know that you both have some baggage from your time in corporate. So thank you for being on this journey with me to the other side. I really appreciate, and I'm so grateful for both of you and the rest of the folks on my team. Rita, I've never worked with someone, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, I've never had someone on my team who has my back as much as you do. I mean, you are truly in my corner every step of the way, and it feels fantastic. And I really adore you, and I'm so grateful for you. Patty, I'm so grateful for your wisdom. I'm so grateful for the perspectives that you bring to the work that we do with clients. And this stuff really matters. And I feel like we're in the beginning of something really, really good. there's more to come from the inclusive 360 model, by the way. We'll get there. That'll be another launch at some point, but there's more to come. I have some great visions as sort of next steps, but I'm really grateful to both of you for being here for me today, and all your support along the way and all you do with our clients.
I'm very excited for those next steps too.
So excited. And I can't wait to see, you know, and I will say that when I started working with you, I really did have we'll see. And you have really shown yourself to be very authentic. You walk it like you talk it. Even the conversations that we had when we first started talking about working together, I was like, we'll see. And I have no problems telling anyone, you know, and everyone, I tell them that what you see is the real deal. This is authentic. And if you want to really learn something, if you want some direction, you're the person to come to, because you're authentic. You are really authentic.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Rita. I appreciate you, Patty. And I'm so grateful for your time here today. And and for all the support you give to the business. All right. So I'm going to let you go back to the rest of your day and enjoy yourselves. And I'm going to welcome my next guest, Jennifer Brown.
Can you see me? Hi.
I can see you, Jennifer. You know what, Jennifer, I just want to say, like, right off the bat, you know, I met you probably about 9 years ago in New York through a mutual friend. And you are like a possibility model for me. And we know, we've met many times since, but I've always really looked up to you and followed you and obviously respected you. And I value every conversation we've ever had. So thank you so much for being that to me as I, went through my own professional identity crisis.
Oh gosh, we've all been there many times.
Yes. So it means a lot to me that you wrote an endorsement for the book and that you're here today. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations, Bernadette. Wow, you're just too talented. I feel like it makes it hard to decide, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? I'm good at I observe you as being just amazing at everything you tackle. That's a blessing, and I'll bet a lot of people agree with that who know you. But I'm so grateful that somebody with your lenses of everything you've done in the past has written a book in only the way you could write it. With only the examples that you have from your experience, which doesn't exist in the world, and this whole thing around solutions for every department is something that kind of keeps me up at night, because, we do need a holistic approach, but we need tangible things that I can do if I sit in customer service, if I sit in operations, and they're somewhat different. They have certain nuances, and I just can't imagine a better person to decode that and give something that's super concrete to, like, especially sort of functional leaders, so they're not maybe at the executive level, but they're what we might call the frozen middle. that place where DEI efforts go to die.
Sure.
So it's like your book is like right there. Like, no, you can do this tomorrow. You can start. You can, it doesn't matter if you have a D&I team. I mean, you as a leader can put some of these things in place. So I thank you for writing what you've written.
Thank you. People who know me, like, me, I mean, I'm kind of like relentlessly pragmatic and practical. So the book is like super practical, but at the end of the day, like, I'm a visionary. I'm like a big picture thinker. And so I really tried to kind of have the balance of both in the book, because I really, people need the hope. I don't want to sell fear. I don't want to sell like what's going wrong. I want to sell what's going right. And I want to show like a really positive path forward, a progressive path forward, where people can be inspired by what's going right, and instead of what's going wrong. And I know that's not how everyone is motivated, but you know what? it's what I'm about. So, you know,
amazing.
let's talk about that stuff. And you have a few books out. So you know, your most recent book is How to Be an Inclusive Leader. So you know what this process is like.
Yes. Congratulations on, you know, doing like birthing the child that is, isn't this you have many books too. Like, isn't this number 4? What is this?
Number 4. Yeah. This is the first book that I've written that has absolutely nothing to do with LGBTQ weddings. So it feels kind of like a, like literally starting a new chapter for me.
Yeah.
Even though I started the chapter a while ago, it's sort of like, all right, well, here I am, here it is. And this is it. You know, this is truly the start. So that so feels good.
That's so cool. We have a question from our friend Dorcas Lind. Hi, Dorcas. Bernadette, do we have time to maybe jump into it?
Sure.
So the question is, you both have written fabulous contributions to DEI strategy and implementation. What are we missing in the field that can push the envelope even further? So new author, what's your answer to that?
What are we missing that we can push the envelope even further? You know, I think that it really is about thinking beyond HR. Yeah. That to me is really the big thing, is even when we're working with organizations who are looking to hire their first DEI employee, the people that are doing it now are in HR. Yeah. And so thinking about inclusion as beyond that, as thinking about it, including supplier diversity, including marketing, including product design, designing for all. I mean, I think that's the piece that's really, really missing.
I so agree with you, Bernadette. And your book is the perfect antidote to that. That this lives in the tissue of the organization, and to continue the metaphor, every limb, like in the cellular DNA of an organization. But heretofore, a few of us have been carrying the water for the work, whether that's the D&I team, whether it's the ERGs. I mean. Right. But it's been kind of, I think, regarded by most people as sort of, D&I is done by those people. It's not where I live. It's not on my to-do list. And not even a to-do list. It's not even viewed, like you say, you're all about like the positive message. It has, I think we're in this place, unfortunately, where it's like, oh, well, they're taking care of it. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Like, versus, wouldn't it be incredible for each business unit and business leader to say, this is part of my transformation. Like, this is what's on the next evolution for me as a leader, as a human, as a family member, as a parent. You know, what we're peddling here is not a chore or medicine. It is literally a ticket to the future. And when I have leaders who are like, well, Jennifer, like, I don't know anything about this, or I don't want to get involved, or I don't agree, just all the noise that we know well, it's like, but you're missing this incredible opportunity to truly see people around you in a different way and with different tools, and then to somehow shoot for this amazing goal of cultures of belonging. You know, which is good for all of us. Like, we all need it. We all crave it. Like, we all do our best work when we feel that. So it's like this force multiplier, but I think we've got to get it into more people's hands, and then we have to describe it in a different way. And you talk about a marketing challenge. I almost feel like sometimes we are reinventing how we talk about this. And I think we need to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know you've done a lot of work specifically around building allies, a lot of allies with men who don't see themselves in the diversity conversation at all. And I think that's really important, you know, because they have the power, right? And so as you say, you know, everyone has a diversity story. So I think that's an incredibly powerful comment and commentary. We both know the Deloitte Uncovering Talent study about 45% of straight white men covering at work. And we all have a role to play in this. And it's not just HR, and it's not just leadership. It's beyond that. It's even beyond ERGs. So I totally agree. But, you know, before we wrap up, tell me because I like to focus on what's going right. What is inspiring you right now? What is giving you hope right now in the world of diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly because you've had the sort of the long game perspective on this. You've been doing this longer than I have.
Yeah, like 16 or 17 years.
Yeah.
Whew, it's been a long road before it was popular, I suppose, right? what gives me hope? I think, gosh, the honesty and the truth and the transparency that we are finally having, I feel like a real conversation in organizations. And I'm seeing, like Rita, I was going to agree with you, Rita, the commitment is different. It feels different. You know, it feels that we've sort of had a step change in terms of our foundation, our threshold has been changed radically by the last year and a half. And so that appetite that I'm feeling from people to learn and to be supported and to be better, even if it's hard, I'm feeling there's an openness, a willingness, and an invitation and a desire and a hunger for that. Whereas before it was a fear or sort of avoidance. So there's this reckoning, I think, that's hard for some people who had hoped to not really do any work.
Right.
Sorry, newsflash, the world is changing.
Enjoy the performative, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. So we're getting deeper. And I honestly, part of me is like, gosh, the work gets hard now. You know, it's not about virtue signaling. It's not about the black square. It's not about, you know, we're beyond this. And now we have to make it real. And this is the tough, like, equity work. Like the systems work piece is what's ahead of us. In addition to all of the changing we need to do on an individual basis. So that systems work is tough because some of us, especially those of us with power, are very comfortable in that system because that system was built by and for people that look like us. So we don't see it. It's the warm water we swim in. Right. And yet that same exact system is causing harm. And so waking up to that, awakening others to it, and then sort of signing up to maybe do a wholesale reinvention of the workplace. I mean, this is a moment I've been waiting for like years and years, because as an LGBT person, you know how uncomfortable the workplace was and is for us. And something just didn't make sense to me. I was like, I have all this to give and to contribute, but I feel blocked. And I feel like I'm working double time to be seen and heard. And I'm starting to notice this is happening across the board. And so anyway, it took a pandemic. It took a racial reckoning. I wouldn't even say it took. It's taking a massive reshuffling of how we understand the world we live in to open the door for better workplaces. And I'm just finally like, I feel like I'll take it, you know, because we never could have manufactured the urgency that we feel now. Like there's almost nothing that could have happened. So
sure, you
know, why do things happen for us and not to us? We're in one of those classic moments. So I'm welcoming it because I need the workplace to work for all of us.
I mean, I could talk to you about this for a very long time.
Go and spend time with your other guests.
I'm going to move on to my next guest. But Jennifer, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you so much for all you've done in the industry. I mean, you've been a leader for so long, and we're all grateful for you. And so thank you. Thanks for being here.
That's so lovely. Thanks, Bernadette. Congratulations again.
All right. Take care, Jennifer. Bye. All right. So Jeremy from the LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's awesome to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Whoever would have thought that I'd be on screen with a best-selling author? I never could have imagined. Thanks for inviting me, and congratulations to you on the launch of a successful book.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You know, and honestly, I invited you to join this show this live stream event because since the moment you joined the LGBT Chamber of Illinois, you've really had my back. You've offered opportunities to me. You've introduced me to folks. You've done a really exceptional job of being an advocate for the members of the chamber, and I personally feel like I've benefited from that. So I wanted to say thank you so much, and thank you so much for all you've done to support the book. I really am grateful for you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. But, you know, it's all a lot easier when you have great members who have great products and services that people really want and really need. And so thank you for being available and coming to the table whenever we call upon you. So it's always been really great working with you, and always knowing that you would be someone reliable that we could send our partners and our members to when they need great thought leadership and great support in implementing a lot of great D&I practices.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, one of the things I wrote about in this book was the importance of supplier diversity in the DEI conversation. And supplier diversity doesn't always live or usually doesn't live in the diversity, equity, inclusion department. If there even is a department, it usually lives in procurement. But I think it's incredibly important. I think there's a really big link there. So would you mind sharing your perspective on the importance of supplier diversity and how this all connects together?
Sure. I think, right now where we are really shows, I think, an example of the value of supplier diversity in your company. As you know, right now we're seeing so many corporate companies being committed externally to supporting D&I goals. Of course, you can do these things internally through having great hiring practices and making sure that you have great support systems in place to support the people who are producing all the great work that your company does. However, we know that there is such great opportunity that exists in the outside world, outside of the four walls where your company lives. And supplier diversity is one of the most impactful ways, I think, to be able to do that. For folks who might not have heard the phrase supplier diversity, Bernadette just hinted that it is a part of procurement, or the people who buy the goods and services for a company, with the whole goal of making sure that corporations are spending their dollars with and providing programs and support to grow and develop diverse-owned businesses. So minority, LGBT, women, veteran, and differently abled businesses as well. And so when you think about the outside community and corporations investing in these small businesses, we're now making it to where business owners from these communities are now able to hire folks from the communities where they live and work. They're now able to be the main sponsors of community initiatives where they live and work. And so we're really helping to make sure that outside of the four walls we live in, outside of our employees, we're really helping to add to a full ecosystem of diversity, of inclusion, and really helping to make sure that everyone is really getting access to opportunities to live in a world where they can be themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for explaining all that. I think that supplier diversity is sort of like a really great example of the E in DEI, of equity, right? And when we talk about equity, a lot of people don't quite understand what that means. And there are, various definitions. But what I really do believe is it's about giving folks, especially folks who've been marginalized because of oppression, because of systemic issues of racism or discrimination in whatever systems. It's about giving them increased access. It's about giving them a leg up and expanding their opportunity to do things like close the racial wealth gap and increase opportunities for LGBTQBEs business in enterprises like mine. So I think supplier diversity is an under-discussed part of DEI. It's really, again, a big part of the E, and it can do an amazing amount of great stuff to expand the access and expand the access of business owners like me. I mean, I have benefited from supplier diversity. I have benefited from, programs that create greater equity. So this stuff, it's personal to me in that way as well.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, I know that you've been in this space for a while. You support other LGBTBEs and other businesses in the work that you do. What in this DEI conversation is inspiring you? What do you think is going really well that you think, is giving you hope?
Yeah, so it was really sort of the piece that I was sort of just talking about. And it's really about, I think now we're seeing a greater commitment from corporations in terms of how they are committed externally in their communities where they live and work. And so I think traditionally, when corporations have always thought about D&I or DEI, it's always come from the internal perspective of how do we make sure employees are included or that we're really just recruiting people. I think that inclusion piece that came a little bit later, but it really started off, I think, with the recruitment piece, and then I think evolved a little bit to the inclusion part. And I think now, while many companies were already doing some great things externally, I think what we've seen since the pandemic, and with the resurgence of a focus of recognizing that Black Lives Matter, I think that we're seeing a lot more companies make commitments to want to be more involved into how local communities are supported, how their dollars are invested into, like here in Chicago, how dollars are invested into the South and West Side communities, and really thinking about how their external decisions, whether it's an impact on policy, an impact on investments, an impact on community partnerships, and how all of these can be really great tools to really helping to create better communities where we live. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about. But something that you said a moment ago about supplier diversity still is sort of ringing in my head. I think the great thing about supplier diversity for corporations is, of course, yes, you get to work with awesome, talented, diverse business owners like Bernadette, but you also get people who are helping you to reduce your costs. You're helping to create competition amongst our business community. So you're not just doing charity work. You're not just saying, hey, here's a LGBT-owned business who they're just LGBT owned, and we're just going to do this with them because they do work. These are qualified businesses who have great infrastructure, great services, great products, and they happen to be from diverse communities that can support your bottom line as well. And so it's a win-win for these companies also.
Awesome. That's so well said, Jeremy. I couldn't agree more. I look for all the opportunities for win-wins, and especially win-win-wins, because it also can improve the customer experience. And I think that that's also often an overlooked conversation. Thank you so much for being here with me, Jeremy. I'm going to let you go. And my next guest now is Heather Vickery. Heather Vickery, my partner. I'm going to make some room for my partner.
Hi. Hey, babe. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been tense. I mean,
she has been tense. And I told her, oh, we got fuzzy. I'm sorry. We keep moving. I told her this morning, like, the work is done. This is about celebration. We're celebrating you today. You did something amazing.
I was a big sigh.
It's a big sigh.
Yeah.
Although you're a master at big sighs.
I am.
She walks around the house with big sighs all the time. But I think it's just processing all of that brilliance that's in your brain.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have a book coming out, so you know what this is like. You know what the process is of, the hustle, the trying to find the balance between vision and creativity and and detail. Like it's real.
It's real. The hustle is so real, and it's so exhausting. And there are weeks of not sleeping because you're thinking about every moving part. But you did it. It's done. You've gone through that part. Now you just get to show this little beautiful thing off everywhere you go. And it's so good, babe. It's so good. And it's pretty. Like, have you guys seen the inside of this book? If you didn't pre-order your copy, get your copy today, because you're going to want this like next to your computer as a resource guide.
Thank you. Thank you. Another big sigh, right? No, I appreciate that, because, you've seen me go through the process. I've been working on this book on and off for 4 or 5 years now, and I ran out of excuses not to finish it. And I know you've been on a similar journey with your books, and it's not easy. But I at the end of the day, like I am really proud of this. I really am.
Most things that are worth it aren't easy.
No, of course not.
Right? If it was easy, you wouldn't get the
lot.
Process.
I don't want the fuzziness.
I know, it's going to take a second. Sorry, we messed with your screen. It may not correct itself until I leave.
The autofocus.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to detach from the focus issue right now. You're a coach, so
It's true.
And sometimes you coach me. Sometimes whether I like it or not, you coach me, and you are an awesome coach.
I try to ask permission.
You do.
I try to ask permission before I coach, because you shouldn't coach without permission. Although this morning I just need you to calm the F down. So I did give you unsolicited advice this morning.
Yes, it happens. But you're great at it. You're great at it. And I know that in the work that you've done, you've changed lives, you've transformed folks, you've helped so many people. So, and you know, we've been together for 7.5 years now, and we've both been on our own journey, sort of parallel journeys of professional growth and evolution. And I mean, personal growth, of course, goes along with it. And it's been really fun. It's been really fun to kind of.
It wasn't the intention to have books going out a month apart. That was not the plan. I actually thought my book was going to be out in the spring, which was such a joke because everything takes longer than you think it's going to take. And it was my third book, so I should have known better, but I didn't. But it's kind of fun. People are like, wait, both of you have books coming out like at the exact same time? And one of our friends, Denise, asked if it was a competition, and it's really not. Like, we are super cheerleaders of the other, and obviously our books are wildly different, so that's easy peasy. But a lot of love and celebration for both of us. See, okay, in my group coaching program, when something awesome happens, everybody that I coach has one of these flags that says "Yay me," and I think you deserve to wave the "Yay me" flag today. Thank
you. Yay me! Yay me! I did it. So I'm gonna wave the yay, give that back to you. I can't even speak right now. I'm gonna give that flag back to you when your book comes out, which is what date?
October 28th.
October 28th.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll pass that flag back to you then. By the way, one of the projects that you worked on is in the book.
Oh yeah, my empowerment program, which I do for corporations who are looking to teach leadership from the ground floor up. You know how often we get promoted because we're good at our job, but we don't know how to lead. This is a program designed to get people to lead wherever they are in their life, in their career path, from a place of honesty, vulnerability, authenticity, and bravery. Bravery is my jam. Brave is my business. So the idea is to embrace our fears, get to know them, and leverage them into intentional bravery. Because what we know for sure is that when we choose bravely on purpose, we choose bigger, we win bigger, and it's contagious. And you are a living example of that, choosing to put yourself out there and work so hard to create such an incredible product is something that you're modeling for other people, and that they can use as a guidepost to do things that feel scary and hard to them. So it's contagious.
Thank you. I mean, your program specifically is for employee resource groups. So you've worked with underrepresented groups within the corporate population to go through this program in which you're really empowering them to level up in an authentic way. When that's priceless. I mean, that's a really huge gift.
Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't specifically designed to only be for that, but that has been what has been attracting.
And that's what's in the book.
That's what's in the book. But it has been what's attracting, is that it makes sense to funnel something like that through an ERG, so that it gets in the hands of the right people.
Sure. I mean, it really does matter. I mean, I know that beyond just the work that you do and the conversations we have and the partner that you chose, that you are very personally an activist. I mean, you get more fired up about a lot of topics than I do.
That's accurate. I'm the one that gets fired up. It's not her usually.
I mean, I'm like a practical, like, fired up. I'm like, okay, what can I write about this? How can I put it in my newsletter kind of thing?
Yeah. And I scream and yell and curse and carry picket signs and make phone calls and stuff.
Yeah. And so, you know, because we have a lot of conversations about the work that we both do, and we both really paying attention to what's going on in the world, I'm just curious, like, what excites you? What's giving you hope about the future?
Oh, some days that feels like a really easy question to answer, and some days it doesn't. But I think the easy answer is the kids. It could make me cry. I didn't anticipate that. We're changing the dynamics. We're changing the rules. And there's a generation of kids coming up now who don't know the old bad rules. So, for example, and I know you've talked about this before, my 11-year-old daughter, since she was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, has been great with pronouns. Like, if you see somebody on the street and you make an assumption about their gender, she will literally say, how do you know that person's a girl? How do you know that person's a boy? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, until they tell you, you shouldn't assume, right? And they're willing to go out and do these things, and they don't carry quite as much burden as the rest of us have. And it's just going to change the dynamic completely.
Yeah.
So keep doing the work and modeling that behavior.
Who is it that said, I believe the children are the future?
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. No, it was Whitney.
I think it was Whitney. Yeah.
I'm not sure who wrote the song.
I don't know.
She gets the credit for it. No, I mean,
no, I want to sing it. Don't sing it.
No, I'm not going to sing it. I know better than that. I'm not going to embarrass myself on LinkedIn Live and Facebook. No. But it's true. I agree. I mean, Gen Z and younger, and even, it's very easy for me to find hope. Very easy. But certainly the young folks, they're redefining things, and their expectations of what is right and what is just and what is fair and how things should be are different. They're much higher.
Wildly different.
They're much, much higher.
Yeah.
And it's really it's a beautiful thing to see.
It is.
Thank you for being you're a great partner. I'm grateful to have you in my life.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm going to have another deep breath.
Oh, yeah. Take a deep breath. We'll do it together. Everybody in. Everybody watching. Deep breath in. Big exhale. We've earned it after a pandemic, which we're still in the middle of.
It's pretty cool to have a coach as a partner. It comes
Glad you still think that.
Comes in very handy when you're an entrepreneur. Okay. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here with me today. I'm gonna kick you out and bring up my next guest.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for letting me spend some time with you.
Bye, babe. All right. Thank you, Heather. And next up is Sheree Coleman. Thank you so much for being here with me today. It's awesome to see your smiling face.
Likewise, Bernadette. Thanks for having me.
So you are president of the Illinois Diversity Council, and I'm sure you have seen a thing or two. How long have you been president of the ILDC?
I've been president, I think, for 6 years, and next year we're celebrating our 10th anniversary, and I was with the council at its inception. So I'm claiming 10 years.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. So I am sure you have seen a lot. You've seen quite the evolution of organizations on this DEI journey. And I'm just sort of curious, what's been your sort of like bird's eye view on all of this? Because you support a lot of different companies in this work, right?
Yes. And actually, this year has really been pivotal in terms of our onboarding of new corporate partners. And so it looks like the word is out, Bernadette, that this is a legitimate, thing.
Thank goodness, right? And from my perspective, better late than never.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that are really exciting you and inspiring you about the work these days?
What's inspiring me is that the bar has been raised from just awareness to activism. And I know we've all heard the term, the Great Resignation. I want to put a word in front of that and reframe it a little bit to the Great Reset and resignation if necessary. So one shift that I've seen is that associates are really leveraging and driving their power within organizations. The level of expectations are heightened. And so the organizations identifying that, associates are the greatest commodity, their human capital, they are listening and they are responding accordingly. And so I think in years past, we thought that these, big conglomerate organizations had the power, but really it's the associates. And I'm pleased that, the leaders are listening.
I agree. I mean, that it's pretty cool. It's been kind of a grassroots thing. I mean, it's been previously sort of leader led for the companies that had the leaders that actually cared and had some sort of personal investment in this. And now it's everyone else who's really putting on the pressure and demanding this as sort of a baseline standard, demanding inclusion as a standard. And that's inspiring to me as well, for sure.
Absolutely. I would agree. I think also in years past. And just in terms of the relationship between associate and organization, the organization kind of set the tone for the rules and how you're going to, function, operate within a certain culture. And I think now that has even shifted, that, organizations are really recognized, and not only to attain, but also retain the highest performing talent, is that they have to, bring their A game. And associates, candidates are even getting more savvy and smarter about interviewing companies, when they're just like the housing market, the employment market is hot, and you have to up your game in order to get the best talent within your organization.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I love that, because it's this external pressure. I mean, hopefully it leads to authentic change, right? I mean, hopefully that, whatever the companies are doing to attract underrepresented talent in particular, hopefully what they're doing is authentic, and they're not just sort of checking some boxes. But I believe that, job seekers are smart enough to know better as well, right?
They are.
They can see through.
Yeah, we're learning more and more how small this world is. And so just between just relationship building, and doing research, because, the information is really out there in terms of what organizations' DE&I footprint looks like. But the value of a human referral is huge. It's huge, and it's plentiful. It's plentiful.
Absolutely. I mean, and so referrals to work at that particular company, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if between the theory of 6 degrees of separation, if you don't know somebody that knows somebody that has worked there, that has had an experience with that organization, and so at some point you'll be able to have a connectivity to a live human person that can give you the inside scoop.
Absolutely. I mean, and of course, everyone's writing on Glassdoor too. So
yes.
One way or another, you kind of have a barometer of what an organization's culture really looks like. And I think that's, it kind of democratizes things, right?
Yes.
That's really impressive. So it's inspiring to me as well. So within the context of the Illinois Diversity Council, you're supporting organizations at different levels of their DEI journey. A lot of it, what you're doing is educational content. Are you seeing companies and organizations really committing to systems change beyond just training? I mean, I think training is incredibly important, and it's the bulk of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do also believe is that, there's a lot of room for human error, and we're all going to make mistakes. And so change has got to go beyond just training, which is one of the reasons I wrote the book, because it's full of policy changes that sort of remove some of the human error component. But if we actually change the policies so the default is inclusion, it sort of levels up the standards for everyone else, right?
Absolutely. I think, the education piece is a part of our business model and our value proposition that we offer to our corporate partners. But it is, it's not a standalone. We dive deep into strategy and just organizational culture. A large part of my onboarding process with the corporate partners talks about the synergy with integrating DE&I into the culture that impacts collaboration, innovation, profitability. Everybody wants to talk about the bottom line, but absolutely the sustainability. And so there is no longer this approach of checks in the boxes or initiatives. This is a really intentional culture shift that is changing the face and the feel and the look and the smell of the organization.
You've been in corporate for a really long time. So you've sort of had a foot in both worlds, both mm-hmm. on the ILDC and also working for corporate yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, corporate before you joined ILDC. So what is it that, how does it kind of feel to be in both worlds?
It's a little awkward sometimes. And, I've had to continuously nudge myself to make sure that I maintain my authenticity, because wearing two different hats, sometimes you show up a little different, but it's been really comforting and really grounding just to make sure I'm keeping back to basics, just constantly reminding myself, Sheree, who are you? What's important to you? So that I don't, compromise my values. But I'm constantly evolving into one version of myself that is sustainable in all rooms, in front of all people, and addressing all topics.
I mean, isn't that the journey we hopefully are all on, right?
Yes.
Is that evolutionary journey. Well, I've really appreciated you since we first connected a few years ago. You've always had my back. You've offered me opportunities to speak to the group, and it's been and offered me visibility as I was growing my business. You were an awesome endorser of the book and supporter, and I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am to have you in my life, and how I appreciate all of the ways that you've just had my back. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's been my pleasure, and I just the relationship that we've had has been reciprocal, and so I just appreciate. I think when I think about people that are in this space, Bernadette is at the top of the list in terms of someone you should know. So it's been absolutely my pleasure. I've been rooting for you in front of the camera, on social media, and in our one-on-one conversations, and I'm so very happy for you and so proud of what you have to offer.
Thank you so much, Sheree. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you showing up today and for this conversation and for all you do to continue this conversation, in internally in your work and also with the ILDC. So thank you. I'm going to give you the rest of your afternoon back and invite my next guest up. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right. So next up is a client, Ruben Alejandro Ramirez from Syngenta Group. Ruben, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for being an endorser for the book and a supporter. I'm grateful for you. And I would actually love to get started by hearing your sort of international perspective on DEI, because you live in Switzerland, right? We're missing your audio. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Great.
Perfect. So thank you very much. Congratulations on the new book. Very happy to be able to endorse it. And yes, it's been a really interesting ride since I moved to Switzerland and got the role as DEI group head for the Syngenta group. As you know, we are a very big group focused in agricultural innovation with 49,000 employees. So you can imagine how diverse our group of employees is. So the international perspective that we have is that diversity and inclusion is such a broad topic, and we really need to be able to set the guideline and the baseline for us to be able to address the local needs, right? Having so many employees in more than 100 countries really makes this a big challenge, because everyone has a different way of seeing how diversity, inclusion, and equity should be addressed. However, we're trying just to get our 4 business units to work in a very harmonic way where we can all understand how our employees can really bring their true selves to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely right. And I think that's a great point, because there are so many different ways to define diversity, and we're all diverse, right? And so when you add that international lens and 100 countries, I mean, that's a lot. So what are some of the things that you've learned along the way that you think could be interesting to folks?
Well, I think one of the biggest learnings have been that we all want to be able to present ourselves the way we like to be, right? And we would like to have a safe space in our workplace to bring that true self to our everyday life, right? The other one is that we are all looking to learn in different ways how to really become more inclusive and really to present equitable opportunities for everyone. And one good example was when we have you as our conference for our LGBTQI Pride event. Really, we broke a record on our webinars participation. We got about 3,100 participants. And this really showed me how eager is everyone to learn more about underrepresented groups. And this really brings me hope, because we're not only bringing a different strategy or a different approach for our DAI actions, but we're also helping people understand how to be better humans to each other. And right after the event, I received so many emails thanking us to present this topic, people with relatives, people with direct reports, people with managers, trying to understand better how to use the pronouns, or really how to not make anything uncomfortable when people were coming out or not coming out. So I think this is exactly, as a corporation, what we need to do. We need to bring tools, and we need to really give some information about how underrepresented groups are being treated, and also how we need to treat them for them to have the same level of opportunities as anyone else in our corporation.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And honestly, Ruben, I mean, I have never presented to that many people virtually before. So
Neither, to be honest.
It was like the Q&A was blowing up. But I think it just sort of shows, I mean, 3,100 people attended that live. And so I think it just shows that you've already created a culture where this sort of curiosity and willingness to learn about people who are different from you is important and is valuable. I mean, that's a really high percentage of folks who attended from a company with 100, company with employees in 100 countries. That's significant. So you're doing something right to enable that sense of curiosity and that growth mindset. And I think that's really inspiring.
Yes, I think the way to engage more people is to really show how vulnerable you can be, right? And I think that by being able to say I'm part of the LGBT community, tell my story, my coming out story in different forums with different people from Asia Pacific, from Africa, from Latin America, that are probably regions where there's still a lot of struggle to be able to be as open as I am, has really connected with our employees. Also, we have a great team of directors that are just embedding all our DEI priorities in their business priorities, and we're relating D&I with our business priorities. I am a strong believer that just having inclusion and equity in our corporations is the only way to have business continuity, right? Otherwise, we will be just not be open enough to bring the right talent to our company. I mean, just by having the right talent is the only way to guarantee success. So this is what we're trying to do. We have many projects around our talent acquisition team. We also have other projects for us to foster inclusion, because it's not all about bringing in, but also to feel everyone welcome and included. And now we're working a lot in the equity space. So I think just by acknowledging that we have all felt left out and how this feels, always gets us into the right rhythm to be better persons with each other in our group.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm glad that you said that you're getting more into the equity space, because I think that's a sort of it's a topic that we've only really been talking about for a year, right? The concept of equity. So can you give an example of how that's playing out within Syngenta?
Yes, well, as you say, equity is a pretty new space for everyone. Coming from the agro industry, even D&I is sort of new in our spaces. What we're trying to do is, as I say, bring new tools. We have new online trainings to talk about cultural diversity. I think that understanding where we're coming from and how our biases were developed and how they were established really help us to set an equal platform for everyone. We're working a lot around the accessibility tools in our Zoom, Microsoft Office, and different softwares that we use, just for everyone to have the right platform. Also, in all our communication campaigns that we have, which are related to International Women's Day, International Day of People with Disabilities, of course, LGBTQI Pride, we try to bring trainings and solutions for people to understand what are the needs. We are also working with our compensations and benefits team just to offer equal payment for equal positions and also differentiated benefits for different populations. Because when you really help our employees to be less stressed on getting access to things that are probably quite easy for represented groups, they really can focus in what they're doing and doing their jobs right and being happy with their jobs. So that's what we're trying to implement in the Syngenta group.
It's impressive. I mean, for an organization your size to be tackling all of these things at once and doing so in a really authentic way and gaining traction is really inspiring, especially in an industry like agriculture, right? I would imagine you're a leader. You're a leader in all of this, and you yourself are a leader in all of this. So it's really cool to hear these stories. So tell me, what about this work? What is giving you the most hope? What is giving you and bringing you the most inspiration these days?
So, of course, we're not there where we would like to be. I think,
Sure.
just as you mentioned in your book, this is not an immediate solution. It's a step-by-step kind of a strategy, and there are many fronts to be covered. But for me, what gives me hope is that people are really open to change behaviors, to learn more about different groups. The fact that our leaders are now speaking about D&I in their everyday agenda when they're presenting results, this really brings me hope, because I do believe that as corporation or private groups, we have the responsibility to do what some other governments are not doing, or also we have the responsibility to create better communities and better society for our employees and our 360 environment. So I think that just by just having these topics in our conversation and by raising awareness, this is something that we can just bring to have a brighter future for the following generations to come.
I agree. It's very cool. So tell me, have you had, I think a lot of companies would love to get to the point where this is something that's happening. DEI is a conversation that's a part of all of the leader conversations. So do you have a trick? Like, how did you make this happen where this is something that is really embedded so deeply into leadership? Because I think it's sort of a best case scenario, but it's not always easy to get there and to have it be, a continual conversation.
Well, this is the work of many people, but I really have to recognize our CHRO, Laura Roberts, that you have met. She has been really interested in bringing inclusion to our group. And I can tell my background is in the marketing and commercial strategy. I jumped from having a marketing lead position coming to a completely new space on D&I. And this was because I am really passionate about the topic. I'm really passionate about having a purpose and making something better for our society and for the world. And I got the opportunity. And this is the best example on how we're trying to bring equity to everyone, right? And to present the right opportunities for the people that have the passion and for the people that really want to make that change. So not only our CHRO, but our CEO, he's completely focused in environmental sustainability, but also in D&I. So I think these are both topics that will really make our business thrive and will keep us having the best talent in the industry and just bringing opportunities to new people. Now we're really fostering having diverse diverse candidates to apply for our positions. I really want to invite more LGBT people to apply to the positions we have all around the world. We're having different programs. We're now reviewing our ERG strategy for everyone to really be able to feel safe and bring their true self to work. That's our philosophy.
Well, I will say that if anyone out there is looking for a job, Syngenta is really doing so much that's right. And I'm really inspired by what you're doing and by our conversations so far, by our partnership so far. I admire you and I'm grateful for you. So thanks so much for spending some time with me today, Ruben.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really happy I could participate. We have so many more projects that we're looking to get in touch with the Quality Institute and also to keep promoting equity and inclusion. This is not only the right thing to do as humans, but it's the right thing to do for businesses. So this has to be something that has to be embedded in everyone's business conversation.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right. Thank you so much, Ruben. I'm going to let you go and introduce my next guest. my good friend, Rhodes Perry, CEO of Rhodes Perry Consulting and author of Belonging at Work. Thank you so much for being here with me, Rhodes. You're my last guest today, and I'm happy to see your smiling face. You are.
I'm so excited for you. You did it. Your book is out there. How are you
Thank
feeling?
you. I mean, I've been like kind of a like high tension today, even though it became a bestseller last night. My level of tension has been like really high, and I feel much better now that this live stream is happening, and I've had great conversations. But I mean, you've written a book. You have a new book coming out in a few months, so you know what the author journey is like.
Oh yeah. There's ups and downs. I feel like when you have that idea in the beginning, there's so much excitement. It's like, I have to get it on paper now. And you get it on paper and then that's like maybe 1/3 of it. Everything that comes after that, right? It's a lot.
Oh, so much that comes after it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your first book, Belonging at Work. I think your second book's going to be, even more exciting, sort of bringing that to the next level. What's this? Can you remind me the name of your second book and when it comes out?
It's called Imagine Belonging. So it's about vision setting, and I mean, obviously beyond vision setting, just knowing the direction that you're heading in rather than kind of taking these very, tactical approaches to DEI where it's like, we've done the one thing. So we've done everything, we've solved it. It's really having a roadmap of knowing where you're going and being very clear about, when you're on track of what it's starting to feel like, when you feel safer in the workplace, when you have more trust and that elusive feeling of belonging. If you can feel that more consistently, how is that going to change your work experience? So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, your book coming out today gives me hope of like, okay, all right, like there's an end goal, right? There's finally an end where you're like, okay, the book is good enough. You just have to walk away from it for a while.
Yes, there's got to be that point in which you're like, all right, enough. I'm done overthinking this.
Yes. Yeah.
I can overthink this for many more months, but yes, it's time to finally release for sure. One of the things I love about your first book and your whole business is built around this concept of belonging, which, to be honest, I don't talk about much in my book. I have an epilogue about belonging because I kind of establish it as the holy grail. Like, if you do these other things, this is what you ultimately can achieve. It's sort of something, it's more aspirational. So can you tell me more about your perspective on belonging and how, everyone has a role to play in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things that we all can connect to in a way that, we all can connect to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? It's the human experience. And yet sometimes I find in my own work using those words, especially around equity, right? Like thinking about systems and making changes in massive systems feels both abstract and overwhelming, right? When you think about an individual person and the role that they can play in advancing that work. And I think even though belonging is this holy grail that may feel really elusive for some folks, it's what we ought to work towards, because we know when we feel it and we know when we feel excluded, right? Like almost immediately. And it changes from situation to situation. And I feel like adding words to talking about that component of showing up in the workplace can help people have more ahas of how to get there, right? And I think that's the elements of everything that comes with understanding diversity, and what that means, and how that's different from inclusive practices versus changing systems that look at, giving people what they need so that they can do their best work. And that's kind of taking that equity component. So it's just trying to make this work more accessible, or as accessible as I can. That's my approach. That's why I do what I do. And I love what's in your book, because you're sharing possibilities, proven strategies that workplaces are already doing, right? And I think that helps build up confidence for leaders who just might be getting started with the work of like, I'm not sure we can do this. And your book is like, actually, you can. And here's a million different examples of how you can. And maybe just try one. I like how you phrase it. Maybe just try one of those things, maybe once, hopefully more than once. And you might get some really positive results, you know. But those results, you know, they're not quick wins, you know. It's there is something about making a long-term commitment, and that's kind of Dory Clark has a book that came out today called The Long Game, which is about that. It's about sometimes you have to do the hard work first to get the rewards that, you know, aren't going to be instant, and yet like think about the benefits that come with that, and also recognize the costs if you don't. And from what I got to read in the advanced copy of your book, you lay that out really well. So I hope everybody watching get a copy of the book and learn. You know, it's maybe don't overthink it. You know, like there are things that are ready and accessible for you to do right now. So thank you for writing it.
No, thank you. I've appreciated your support along the way. I've appreciated your friendship along the way, and you know, that you're just a text away for bouncing ideas off of each other, and that means a lot to me. You know, as an entrepreneur, it can be a lonely experience, and it's awesome to have someone like you, who's, you know, part of my community, who's part of my network, that we can share these wins together. We can share struggles together. And I've always valued your friendship for that, and lots of other reasons. You know, one thing that I think is really cool about your business is that you've built a business around creating a community. Like, you have a membership program that's focused on community and sharing, because it can be lonely work, even for those DEI practitioners within an organization who might not have a lot of support within their team, or there might be competing priorities, and they might not have as many people who are as fired up about this stuff as they are. And you've created a community and educational content for these folks, so they feel like, all right, we're in it together, and that's unique. And I love that you've done that. Yeah,
thank you. That was largely like thinking of my younger self doing this work in a big system. And I remember, you know, I was reporting to a commissioner, right? So someone who has like ultimate power, decision-making authority, resources at the ready. And I remember him saying, you know, I love what you're doing. You're having such a massive impact, and I'm ready to cut out all of the red tape. Just let me know. However, I have no idea how to support a position like yours. And, you know, I remember that. And then as I was doing more DEI work, you know, sharing that experience with other folks, whether they're CDOs or DEI coordinators, and how much that resonated with other folks of like, oh my God, like you too? I'm like, yes. And so, you know, that was kind of the idea of, why not have a space, and in a space that's not, you know, I mean, we're not talking about the topics that we often share with our clients. You know, the clients are at a different level, you know, developmentally, than kind of where we are and how we're trying to grow as DEI professionals. But a space that really gets at the root of some of the thorniest challenges that, you know, sometimes we don't know, you know, or we need to crowdsource, we need a workshop, we need to talk through, we need to have a space that kind of like leaves the judgment at the door and allows us to just say, look, I've tried X, Y, and Z. I feel a little stuck. Has anyone else been there? And it's amazing, you know, like when you do have a community of people, there's other folks that might be a little bit further ahead than where you're at. And it's like, oh, that happened to me 5 years ago. And here's some ideas, you know, this kind of worked. And it, you know, the result was kind of okay. Maybe you'll want to try that or consider it. And it's like community care in action, you know, which is like a compassion practice, right? Where it's like, if I have the energy today, I am ready to give as much as I can because I want to see your success. And sometimes you show up in the space and it's like, I've tried everything and I need a lot of support. So that's kind of what the community is about. And it's been exciting to watch it grow, and it gives me a lot of life. So I feel like anything, you know, when you're running your own business in the world of entrepreneurship, it's like when you kind of find a group of people that get where you're at and really kind of fill your cup, you know, to me, that feels like it's the right direction. So it's exciting to see where it's going. And
yeah. I love that. And I think especially for people who are new to this, organizations, whether they're early on in the DEI journey or practitioners within organizations that are they especially need some support, which is, I mean, that's the reason I wrote my book. You know, I wrote Inclusive 360, especially for organizations early on. I don't know the sort of the experience level of the folks within your own community, but it seems like there's a lot of synergy there. You know, folks who are very passionate about this, but they need to move from good intentions and into action. It's so easy to overthink it. It really is. I love what you're doing. I'm grateful to have you as a friend. I'm grateful that you're just a text away.
Likewise.
And for your inspiration these years. So thanks for being a good friend, Rhodes. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Savor today. Congratulations on bestseller status. And it's just the beginning. You know, books tend to, you're at the beginning of talking about Inclusive 360, and it's going to be exciting to watch, you know, what you're building evolve and support so many folks that are ready to do this work and just, you know, need some additional courage and those proven strategies that you write so well about in the book. So
thank you.
Savor everything today.
Well, we will have to connect offline about my next big idea for the book or the concept. So it's there for those of you watching. There's more to come. I'm very excited about what's next, and you know, there's no bad way to get started. You just have to get started in this work. You just have, you know, and everyone has a role to play. Even if you're not a manager, even if you're an individual contributor, you have a role to play in creating a more equitable and inclusive environment. We all, it's not just about HR. It's not just about leadership. It's not just about management. We all have a role to play. So if you haven't already done so, please go to inclusive360book.com. Rhodes, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get on my soapbox for another little bit and wrap up. But thank you so much for being here, Rhodes.
All right.
For those of you who haven't bought a copy yet, if you buy a copy today, you are going to get some bonuses. I'm delivering a virtual keynote in a few weeks that you can join. I'm doing an AMA. You can ask me anything about the book or anything else in a few weeks. And I'm happy. I'm really, really grateful for all of your support, all of the people who've been on my influencer team, who've been spreading the word, who made this a bestseller before, you know, midnight last night. So thank you for everyone. People really, truly came out of the woodwork to show up. I mean, I reached out to people in the woodwork and I was really pleasantly surprised by all of the various people from the different parts of my past and present who were like, yes, I want to help you. Yes, I believe in what you're doing. So thank you all. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm still kind of tense. I'm still kind of overwhelmed, but this has been a lot of fun. Thank you to my wonderful guests, Rhodes, Ruben, Sheree, Jennifer, my partner Heather, I mean, Jeremy, you all are rock stars, Rita and Patty, of course. I'm incredibly grateful for all of you and for all of you watching. Thank you for all you do to build an inclusive world. I'm grateful for you. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.